Hi guys, welcome to this episode of Bolt Action Tactica, and on this episode we're going to talk about gyro stabilization and is it worth the points cost. Now if you play US, you have the option of having your gun on some of your tanks gyro stabilized, but to benefit from the gyro stabilization you have to take a veteran crew. So basically what happens is, to use the gyro stabilization ability you have to pay a veteran crew tax. So for example, if you take a regular 76mm Sherman, that'll cost you 235 points. And if you take a veteran 76mm Sherman, it'll cost you 292 points. So that is just short of a 60 points tax for you to be able to use the gyro stabilization. Now, is it worth taking? Generally, I don't think it's worth the points. The reason why I think it's not worth the points, when you're playing general games, and bear in mind you're playing an infantry game, your tank is part of it, and your tank is there to support your infantry and hopefully knock out enemy tanks and vehicles. And if you've watched in my last Bolt Action Tactica, I mentioned about the Panzer III. Is it the best German tank? And the same rule goes for the US. By taking a regular Sherman or a Chaffee, if you're doing a generic reinforced platoon, take a regular Chaffee, then it gives you the option to spend points on your squads to give them anti-tank grenades, take your bazooka team. So you've got more than one way of dealing with enemy vehicles and armour. By tying all your points up into a tank, you're reducing your options, and if you lose that tank first or second turn, then you're at the mercy of your opponent's armour for the rest of the game. And paying 220 points or 230 points for a regular tank and having to pay an extra 66 points to make it veteran so you can use gyro stabilization, which you're only going to use 4 or 5 times in the game, getting the benefit of that +1 for move and shoot. I don't think it's worth the 66 points when you could spend almost that amount of points and get yourself a bazooka team. Or I think it's 2 points per man for anti-tank grenades. So for 66 points you could give 33 infantry guys anti-tank grenades. And so I don't think gyro stabilization is worth the points. So I mentioned a situation where gyro stabilization would be useful. When you're playing a game, you put your order dice in the bag, as always, and you draw your order dice out one by one, and you deploy your units, or you bring your units on, as with every game. Very rarely I get the last order dice. Now, if you don't get the last order dice and you bring your tank on, and then your opponent keeps their tank to last, unless you can bring your tank on and stick it in cover, so there's no way your opponent can come on and draw line of sight to your tank from anywhere on their deployment zone. He's going to have a pot shot at your tank, and 9 times out of 10 I lose mine. Now, if you've got gyro stabilization and you do get the last ordered dice out, then you're in a good chance to take out his tank. The range on the gun on the 76mm is 72 inches. So you get no penalty for shooting less than half range. And you get no penalty for coming on. If your opponent gets the last dice and you bring your tank on and you've got it on your side of the table, if you bring it on, don't bring it on the full distance. Bring it on just enough so it's on the table to force your opponent to make a long range shot. That way he will come on. He needs +1 to hit you for coming up, for moving and shooting, and +1 because it's a long range shot. So he needs a 5 to hit you. And hopefully if you've got cover, you hold down, he could need 6s or 6s and 6s, the 7+ shot. The same token, if you've got gyro stabilization and you come on, he's already on the table and he's brought his tank on the full distance. He's brought it on 9 inches onto the table, and you bring your tank on 9 inches onto the table. That means that you've narrowed the distance between your two tanks to roughly 2.5 feet, about 30 inches. And the gun on a 76mm Sherman has a 72-inch range, meaning that your opponent's tank will not be at long range, and you have no penalty for moving and shooting because you're gyro stabilized, which means unless he's in cover, you're going to be hitting on a 3. That is the situation where gyro stabilization is worth the points. However, it's very situational. The number of games you will play where you actually get that opportunity are few and far between. You're better off keeping a regular tank and spreading them points out against your infantry squads and giving them anti-tank grenades and bringing a bazooka team, just so you got more than one option for taking out your opponent's tanks and vehicles. Don't get me wrong, if you're going to be playing a 1250 point game, then hey, why not take your gyro stabilization. Points are not then as critical, and we've got an extra 250 points to play with. So upgrade your tank and pay the extra 66 points. You've still got a couple hundred points then to add another infantry squad, and add another team, and maybe give every infantry guy you've got on the table anti-tank grenades, and then go to town, enjoy yourself. There you go, guys. That's my thoughts on gyro stabilization. So just a quick recap. Generally speaking, I don't think gyro stabilization is worth the points cost of paying for your tank to be a veteran. It's very situational where it will be beneficial. I mean, you may be lucky, but I've found that I played quite a few games with the veteran 76mm Sherman, and it performed probably in a third of those games. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.